going on, everybody? I'm Seth with Hoshizaki, and today I want to talk to you about our Steelheart B Series pizza prep units. Now, right beside me here, I have the PR93B at 93 inches wide. This is our largest pizza prep unit, but I'm going to use this just to go over some of the features and functions of the platform, as well as first-time setup and some common mistakes that people make when they're putting this together. Also, when you're doing maintenance, just some tips and tricks to watch out for. So let's jump right into it. All right, so you've got your pizza prep unit set up, ready to go, ready to plug in, turn on for the first time. Let's go through a couple things that we want to do just to make sure that everything's set up before that first use. So first and foremost, make sure that the unit itself is set up properly. Is it level? Are the casters properly installed? Depending on the size of the unit, the casters may attach in a different location. There's one size of this where it actually attaches underneath the condenser and not on the body of the unit. So make sure that your casters are in the right location. Make sure that the unit's level. Make sure that you're checking all of the power requirements on the nameplate of the unit. Make sure that it's in a dedicated outlet. You want to do all this just to make sure that you got enough power for everything to work correctly. Other things to check, you want to make sure that you've removed all of the packing material, any sort of tape, styrofoam, whatever it may come with. Make sure that all of that's removed from the unit. You need to leave 1-inch clearance on both sides, 1-inch clearance on the back. The back's got bumpers that need to be installed. Those bumpers are going to force you to adhere to that 1-inch clearance. That's just so that the unit can breathe properly and function the way it needs to. You need to make sure that your rail section is completely full of whatever your bin and divider configuration is. Do not leave air gaps. Make sure it's completely full. When you plug this thing in and turn it on for the first time as well, you need to have both rail covers closed. Don't try to start it up with the rail covers open. They need to be in the closed position for that initial startup. All right, so the different sections on the pizza prep unit. Up top, we have what we call our rail. This is where you're gonna have a section of bins and dividers that you can kind of customize to whatever you see fit. So the PR93B does come with 12 of the plastic bins, but you can mix and match with steel bins, the plastic bins, smaller kind of half-size units, whatever you want to do there. But this is a section that's meant for your toppings, cheese, pepperoni, whatever you want to put up there. Down low, we have our traditional refrigerated cabinet. This is broken out into 3 doors on the 93-inch size, but you can also get it with 2 drawers on each of the sections. So you can get 6 drawers all the way across, 3 doors, or any combination of the 2. I'll show you the cabinet section really quick. There are 2 shelves per section. So this is a fully insulated cabinet. You've got the refrigerated rail up top, and these are on 2 separate controllers. And so in just a little bit, I'll show you how those 2 controllers work to maintain different temperatures across both. All right, there's a couple different accessories and sort of customization options that you can get into as well. Now, earlier I mentioned doors versus drawers, where you can have any combination of 2 drawers per section or 1 door. But also this cutting board here slides off entirely. So this is ease for cleaning, makes it easy to access everything. You can completely take it off. You can, if you so decide, replace this or buy a different spec with a composite cutting board. So you can put this on here, sort of the more natural wood look. It's really just a preference thing. Other accessories that we have, there are some shelves that can mount and come up from above the unit on the back. But with the shelves, what's important is that you need to always have clearance in the back above the rail so that you have room for this to open and stay there. So you need to have 10 inches of clearance so that you can put, whatever's up here is not going to interfere with your operation day to day. All right, now I'm going to show you how to customize the rail. So as I mentioned before, this does come with 12 of the 1/3 size bins across the top, but you can take these out and mix and match with whatever restaurant pans you may have, so long as you use the right size dividers and bins when you put them in there. So let me show you what that could look like. So I could take out these standard pans, put in the metal 6-inch deep pan instead. That fits just fine. And then if I want to do these 1/6 size pans, I do need the horizontal divider bar. So I take this here, and I'm going to combine it with the front to back divider bars, and you've got these slots. So put it in like this. Now it's connected. Now I can take these 1/6 size pans, drop them right in, put this back, and now I've customized. So you could take, the steel pans all the way across. You could do 24 of these 1/6 size pans all the way across, or any combination that you have, as long as you're using the right amount of divider bars and bins that actually fit within the section. You really can customize it infinite number of ways. Okay, so earlier I mentioned that the cabinet section and the rail section were on their own independent controllers, and I'm going to show you those now. The controller that you see on the outside of the unit with the digital display, that is the controller for the cabinet section only. It does not affect the rail whatsoever. To adjust that one, you just press the up arrow to go up in 1 degree increments, press the down arrow to go down in 1 degree increments. Now, the controller for the rail is actually inside the cabinet, so I'll show you that here. As I open this door, that gives me a good chance to show you the self-closing and stay open feature of these doors. Now I said both those things, and that's because it has both features. If you open it inside 90 degrees, the door is going to close itself back. So if I open it less than 90, it's always going to close itself back. If I open it beyond 90 degrees, it stays open. And so that lets you decide, if you're gonna be like stocking this thing and loading it and you don't wanna open the door every time, open it beyond 90, it'll stay open for you. That goes across all 3 of these. But if you're just grabbing something and you have to kind of kick it or whatever with your foot and you wanna make sure it stays shut, just open it a little bit, keep it under 90, and it'll shut itself like that. So back to the rail controller, that is located up here on the inner left wall inside the cabinet. It is a knob that goes from 1 to 9. And so the factory setting is gonna be 5. The 5 is at the uppermost point, kind of the 12 o'clock position. That is the factory setting of this unit. You wanna turn it towards the 9 to make it colder, towards the 1 to make it hotter. Each increment is 2.25 degrees Fahrenheit up or down, depending on which way you spin it. So to make any adjustments there, you're just gonna spin it left, spin it right, and that is going to adjust the set point of your rail. One of the most common mistakes that people will make when they're reassembling the rail or customizing it for the first time is that they'll inadvertently leave an air gap. So if you leave one of your divider bars out, right here between these 2 bins, I don't have one, you'll introduce an air gap to the system, and that's gonna lead to less efficient cooling and maybe even not being able to hold some of your food at temperature. The way that this unit works, it is blowing air underneath the pans from back to front. And so it's blowing underneath and it's sort of circulating and everything stays nice and cool as long as you have the full space covered. And so if you do introduce an air gap by missing a divider bar or leaving an entire pan out, all of that cold air is going to come up and out and just kind of be lost to your environment. If you have these 1/6 size bins, you need a horizontal divider bar in between every single one of those as well to keep your unit working properly. When you're thinking about the rail and the divider bars, don't forget that you need to put one on the outside as well. So you should always have at least 1 more divider bar than the number of bins. If you have 12 bins across, you're going to need 13 of these because you've got 1 for every bin plus an additional 1 on the outsides. If you just push this all the way to the edge, you're going to introduce an air gap either between some of the other ones or on the edge of this as well. It is designed to have a divider on both sides of every bin all the way across. 2 other things to be aware of when it comes to maintaining your rail. The first is do not put warm or hot food directly in the bins in the rail section. The way that this works again is it's blowing cold air underneath the bins, and so if you put, let's say you cook some meat or something, drop it in one of your bins while it's still hot, that heat's gonna radiate down, you're gonna be warming up that cold air that the unit's working to produce. You're just gonna end up with less efficient unit. It's gonna do not quite as good of a job cooling everything off. So only do pre-chilled food in the bin section. But the main thing that I wanna call out here is our day-night sensor. This unit, all of the PR B series pizza prep units from Steelheart have a day and a night mode. And so what that does is when these lids are shut, like that side over there, it says, okay, that's night mode. When the lid's open, that's day mode. And so the difference between those 2 things is it is a different temperature set point. It's about an 8 degree Fahrenheit difference in the set point here. And the reason for that is when the lid is open, cold air is escaping, everything wants to try to warm up. So you have to have the rail running at a lower temperature to maintain the actual food temp that you want to. If you keep that same low temperature when the lid is shut and everything's kind of nice and sealed up, you could end up freezing the food. And so day-night mode, what that allows you to do is to, without having to adjust any controls manually or do anything else, the unit automatically senses light And so it knows if the rail is open or shut, and it automatically adjusts that set point for you so that you don't have to do anything yourself. But what you have to watch out for is this sensor is a light sensor. And so when the rail is shut, it doesn't sense light and it thinks the lid is shut. But if you get food or pizza dough or flour or anything like that kind of caking up this sensor, it will think that it's blocked and it's not gonna sense light and it's not gonna work properly. So it's very important to keep this clear. Don't have anything stacked up in front of it, and don't let any food or any residue get on top of it. You need to have that clear and always clean to work properly, and then you'll have your day-night mode operating perfectly and the unit will do exactly what it's supposed to. All right, I want to talk now about the rail covers. So these have multiple positions and multiple ways that you can use them. The first and the most obvious, leave it shut, close off the rail section, everything works great. There is a sort of half open position, which is the first notch on the hinges. That's for if you're gonna just grab something quick, something especially right at the front of the bins, but you don't need to take any of these out or really have full access. The full open position would be here. This is if you're gonna be doing a ton of service and you need quick access across all of them, or you wanna take the bins in and out. That's gonna give you full access with no clearance issues whatsoever. When it comes to cleaning, or if you need to do a deep clean, or if you're gonna take the rail section out, or whatever you may do, you can actually take this lid off entirely without touching any hardware. So to do that, all you do is you keep coming further back, rotate it off the back, and it comes completely out. It's as easy as that. That's gonna give you access to clean sort of this back panel, access to these screws if you need to take out this sort of channel within the rail, and it just gives you better access to everything versus having the lid in the open position. All right, so now I want to talk to you a little bit about how this unit actually works. So you see these louvers here on the back. I've got the rail section completely disassembled just so you can see down in it. Took the lids off, took the bins and the divider bars out. These louvers are where the cold air is going to come through this unit. And so cold air will come through here and it will circulate throughout the rail section. If you have your bins in place, that cold air is going to be underneath. It's going to flow kind of between and underneath the bins. And it's just going to circulate here. And so the cold air stays here, it stays cold, everything is reused and recirculated. It works really well. If you need to bring cold air down into the cabinet section, how that works is we have fans mounted at different increments on the roof of this cabinet. So it's on the roof of the cabinet, but it's below this rail. As this cold air is circulating, if we need cold air in the cabinet, the fan turns on and it pulls that cold air down. So when we say things like don't put hot food directly in the rail, the reasoning for that is not only will it affect the performance of the rail, but you can also draw hot air into the cabinet down below. And so that's the way that it works. That's the way that we're able to have two different controls and two different set points for the rail and the cabinet with just the one condensing unit. All right, so cleaning and taking care of the rail section and just the unit as a whole. So in terms of cleaning, use just a mild detergent, warm soapy water basically to clean that out. You're gonna wanna get down in the rail section from time to time. You're gonna have cheese and toppings and things like that that fall through. Super common, no big deal. You take the lids off, take the bins out, take the dividers off so that you've got this nice open section. Just wipe everything down. Now, if you really, really need to do a deep clean, occasionally you'll wanna take this rail section out, and this entire channel here is one piece and it does come out. And so you see these screws along the wall here, you take these out on all sides, and then these holes, which are for manufacturing, become nice little finger holes basically to lift this out. And so if you take those out, usually this would be a two-person job, especially on this 93-inch size. On the smaller size, you can do it by yourself, but take these screws out, grab right here, and this will actually lift completely up and out, and then you can access anything that has kind of gotten through the louvers or fallen into the cavity in between and do a nice deep clean. All right, so that's our B-Series pizza prep units. I hope this has been helpful and that you learned some. If you're interested in having one of these units, contact your local dealer. Or if you just want to learn a little bit more about it, visit us on our website at hoshizakiamerica.com. Now, if you do have one of these units and you do need help or you have a technical support issue, please reach out to the Hoshizaki technical support team and they'll be happy to help.